What is the most beautiful message a person can receive? I'm sorry, I can't make it tonight. Be honest. For a second, you pretend to be disappointed. Oh no, that's too bad. But inside, your entire body is celebrating. The plans are canceled. You do not have to get dressed. You do not have to travel anywhere. You do not have to talk, smile, react, or pretend to be interested in someone's very long story about their coworker. You can stay home. And the relief is immediate. But then another feeling sometimes appears. Guilt. Why am I so happy that I do not have to see anyone? Why does leaving the house feel like work? Why does closing the front door behind me feel better than almost anything waiting outside it? Maybe you have called yourself an introvert. Maybe people have called you shy, lazy, antisocial, or boring. And maybe, on difficult days, you have wondered whether something is wrong with you. But the truth is more complicated. Some people stay home because it gives them peace. Some stay home because the outside world overwhelms them. And some stay home because home has slowly become the only place where they feel safe. From the outside, all three people look exactly the same. The door is closed, the curtains are drawn, the phone is on silent. But behind that door, three completely different things may be happening. So why do some people never want to leave home? And more importantly, how can you tell whether staying home is helping you recover or helping you hide? Think about what happens when you finally get home after a long day. You close the door, you put down your keys, you remove your shoes, and before you have done anything else, your body changes, your shoulders drop, your face relaxes, you breathe differently. It is almost as though you have been holding part of yourself tight all day without realizing it. Outside, you had to remain available. Someone could speak to you. Someone could look at you. Someone could ask you a question. Someone could need something from you. Even when nobody was talking directly to you, some part of your mind remained alert. Where should I stand? Am I walking too slowly? Should I say hello? Did that person recognize me? Do I look uncomfortable? What am I supposed to do with my hands? Most of these thoughts happen so quickly that you barely notice them. But your brain notices. It tracks faces, voices, traffic, movement, expectations, and possible problems. Then you arrive home, close the door, and the performance ends. Nobody is watching. Nobody needs a response. Nobody can suddenly walk over and begin a conversation. For the first time all day, you are no longer available to the world. That can feel incredible. And that feeling does not automatically mean you hate people. It may simply mean that being around people costs you more energy than anyone can see. We often explain everything with one word: introvert. Do you dislike parties? Introvert. Do you need time alone after work? Introvert. Would you rather spend Friday night watching videos and eating something irresponsible? Definitely an introvert. The popular explanation is that extroverts gain energy from people while introverts lose energy around them. There may be some truth in that. Some people seem to experience the world at a higher volume. A busy restaurant is not just a restaurant. It is music, plates, footsteps, conversations, laughter, bright lights, and the possibility that someone may ask them to repeat their order. A small gathering is not just 6 people in a room. It is 6 voices, 6 moods, 6 faces, and dozens of tiny social decisions. When should I speak? Did I interrupt? Was that joke funny? Have I been quiet for too long? Should I leave now? For one person, all of this is exciting. For another, it is exhausting. But introvert still does not explain everything. Because there are several very different reasons a person may avoid going out. The first is fear. This person wants to be included. They want friends, they want invitations, they may even want to attend the party. But the moment arrives, and anxiety takes over. What if I say something stupid? What if nobody talks to me? What if everyone notices how uncomfortable I am? So they stay home. Not because they wanted to be alone, but because fear defeated desire. The second person truly prefers being alone. They are not frightened. They are not angry at the world. They simply enjoy their own company. Give them a book, a game, a film, a project, or several hours with no interruptions, and they are completely fine. They do not feel rejected. They feel free. Then there is a third person. This person avoids people because being around others has begun to feel unpleasant, pointless, or unbearable. They may be disappointed with people. They may feel detached. They may believe nobody understands them. They are not choosing solitude because solitude feels rich and peaceful. They are withdrawing because connection has started to feel impossible. All three people may say the same thing. I'd rather stay home. But those words can mean, I love being alone. I'm afraid to go out. Or, I no longer believe there is anything outside for me. Those are not the same life. People often misuse the word antisocial. If someone skips a party, eats alone, or does not answer messages for 3 hours, we call them antisocial. But enjoying solitude is not the same as having no concern for other people. You can love your friends and still not want to see them every day. You can care deeply about someone and still need time away from them. You can be warm, loyal, and kind while also feeling enormous relief when everyone finally leaves your house. That is not hatred. It is not selfishness. Sometimes it is simply exhaustion. Being around people requires constant attention. Even during an ordinary conversation, your mind is doing a surprising amount of work. You listen to the words. You study the person's face. You try to understand their tone. You decide how to respond. You check whether they have finished speaking. You remember what you were going to say. You wonder whether your response sounded strange. Then, while you are still thinking about that, they begin the next sentence. For people who process social situations easily, this may feel almost automatic. For others, it is like running several programs at once on an old laptop. Eventually, the laptop begins making concerning noises. Home is where those programs finally close. Researchers have found that even a short period of chosen solitude can calm people down. Not an entire weekend. Not a month in a cabin deep inside the mountains. Just 10 or 15 minutes alone. Afterward, intense emotions often become less intense. Anger settles, frustration softens. Excitement also becomes calmer. Solitude does not necessarily make you happy. It turns down the volume. Imagine your emotions as a pot of water boiling on a stove. Time alone does not empty the pot. It lowers the heat. This helps explain why you may suddenly want to disappear into your room after an argument, a crowded event, or an exhausting day. You are not always running away. Your mind may be trying to cool itself down before it says or does something it regrets. That instinct can be healthy. The important word, however, is chosen. Being alone because you want space feels very different from being alone because nobody came. One feels like freedom. The other can feel like rejection. From the outside, both situations look like a person sitting alone in a room. Inside, they are worlds apart. Solitude is not simply the absence of people. It is the ability to control when people have access to you. You can open the door when you want connection. You can close it when you need rest. The comfort comes from knowing that the choice belongs to you. Imagine trying to sleep while someone repeatedly enters your room without knocking. Even if you like that person, you would eventually feel irritated. Now imagine being locked inside that same room with no way out. At first, the silence might feel peaceful. Eventually, it would feel like a prison. Healthy solitude has a door that opens from both sides. You can step away from people, recover, and then return. Isolation begins when returning feels harder every time. You cancel one plan and feel relieved. Then you cancel the next one. Soon, people stop inviting you because they assume you will say no. Now there are fewer messages to answer and fewer uncomfortable decisions to make. That feels easier. But after a while, you notice that nobody is asking anymore. What began as protection has quietly become disconnection. This is the danger. Home is extremely good at making you feel safe right now. But safety right now is not always the same as happiness later. Imagine that going to the grocery store makes you anxious. So today, you order everything online. Your anxiety immediately drops. Your brain notices this. It learns a simple lesson. I avoided the store, and the bad feeling disappeared. The next time you consider going, the anxiety may arrive even faster. So you avoid it again. Once again, you feel relief. And once again, your brain learns that avoidance works. In the short term, it does work. That is why avoidance is so powerful. It gives you an instant reward. You do not have to face the uncomfortable situation. But every time you escape, the situation becomes slightly more frightening in your imagination. You never get the chance to discover that you could have handled it. Eventually, the store feels impossible. Then restaurants feel difficult. Then public transport. Then meeting friends. The world does not literally become more dangerous, but your safe area becomes smaller. This is one of the most useful questions you can ask yourself. When I stay home, do I feel restored? Or do I simply feel relieved that I escaped? Restoration gives energy back to you. After a quiet evening, you feel more able to face tomorrow. Avoidance does the opposite. You may feel better tonight, but tomorrow the outside world feels even heavier. One kind of solitude expands your life, the other slowly shrinks it. There is another danger waiting inside an empty room. Your own mind. When everything becomes quiet, your thoughts become louder. Sometimes this is useful. You think about a problem, you understand what went wrong, you decide what to do next. But sometimes your mind does not solve anything. It simply repeats the pain. Why did I say that? Why did they look at me like that? What if everyone secretly dislikes me? What if I never change? What if my life always feels this way? The same thoughts circle again and again. It feels like serious thinking because it is exhausting. But you are not moving toward an answer. You are walking around the same room in your mind and calling it a journey. Researchers have found an important difference between two kinds of thinking. The first is reflection. Reflection asks, what happened? What can I learn? What can I do differently? The second is brooding. Brooding asks, why am I like this? Why is everything terrible? Why does this always happen to me? Reflection looks for a door. Brooding stares at the wall. This means solitude itself is not automatically healing or harmful. It depends on what happens while you are alone. Are you resting? Creating? Reading? Learning? Thinking through a real problem? Or are you sitting in silence while your worst thoughts grow stronger because nobody and nothing interrupts them? The room is the same. The result can be completely different. Here is one of the most surprising findings. You might assume that introverts enjoy solitude more than everyone else. But some research suggests that introversion alone does not explain who truly enjoys being alone. Something else matters more: a strong sense of self. People who are comfortable alone often know what they like. They have interests that belong to them. They do not need an audience to make an activity feel meaningful. They can read, build, write, draw, study, walk, cook, or simply think without constantly asking whether anyone else approves. Their identity does not disappear when other people leave the room. That is why solitude feels full rather than empty. They are not sitting around waiting for life to begin again. Their life is already happening. This may be the deepest difference of all. Some people are alone with nothing but the feeling that they have been left out. Others are alone with an entire inner world. For them, closing the door does not mean disappearing from life. It means returning to themselves. For most of human history, staying home forever was not a realistic option. Food was outside. Work was outside. Water was outside. Community was outside. If you wanted to survive, you had to leave. The world pulled you through the door whether you felt confident or not. Today, that pull is disappearing. Food arrives at the door. Work appears on a laptop. Entertainment streams onto a screen. Friends become messages, voice notes, and tiny faces inside rectangles. You can shop, work, eat, learn, and socialize without physically entering the world. That is an incredible convenience. It can also become a trap, because now, leaving home is no longer necessary. It becomes a decision, and decisions require motivation. Why walk to a restaurant when food can arrive in 20 minutes? Why visit a shop when a package can arrive tomorrow? Why meet someone when you can send a message? Why go to the cinema when the film will eventually appear on a service you already pay too much for? Every individual choice makes sense. But when thousands of sensible choices are added together, an entire life can begin moving indoors. One large study of how Americans spent their time found that people were staying home roughly 1 hour and 40 minutes more each day than they had about 2 decades earlier. The trend did not begin with lockdowns. It had already been growing. More activities were simply moving into the home. But the study also found something uncomfortable. People spending more time at home often reported less happiness and less meaning in their lives. That does not prove that staying home caused their unhappiness. Unhappy people may also be more likely to remain home. But it raises an important possibility. Convenience can remove discomfort. It can also remove surprise, movement, challenge, and human contact. A completely frictionless life may feel comfortable. It may not feel alive. There is no correct number of nights you should spend outside. There is no rule saying a healthy person must enjoy crowds, parties, or constant conversation. The real question is not how often you stay home. It is what staying home does to you. After time alone, do you feel clearer? Do you feel rested? Do you become interested in the world again? Do you eventually want to call someone, take a walk, or continue with your life? Then your solitude may be doing exactly what you need it to do. But perhaps something else happens. You stay home and feel safe, but not happy. You avoid messages because answering them feels overwhelming. You cancel plans, then feel lonely when nobody is around. You want connection, but the thought of reaching for it feels impossible. The longer you remain inside, the more frightening everything outside appears. Then home may no longer be a place where you recover. It may have become a place where fear is allowed to grow without being challenged. The difference is not visible from the street. Only you can feel it. So the next time you close your front door and feel that wave of relief, do not immediately judge yourself. Pause for a moment. Ask what the relief means. Does it mean, finally I can rest? Or does it mean, thank God I escaped? Does your time at home prepare you to return to life? Or does it make returning feel even harder? Are you choosing to be alone? Or are you waiting for fear to give you permission to go outside? You do not need to become someone who loves parties. You do not need to speak to strangers for fun. You do not need to apologize for needing quiet. But a good home should be a place from which you live, not a place in which your life slowly disappears. The goal is not to keep the door permanently open. That would be exhausting. The goal is not to keep it permanently closed either. That could become lonely. The goal is to know that your hand is still on the handle. You can close the door when the world becomes too loud. You can breathe. You can rest. You can become yourself again. And when you are ready, you can open it. Not because the world forced you outside, not because somebody shamed you for staying in, but because there is still something out there that belongs in your life. A person, a place, a possibility, maybe even a version of yourself that you have not met yet. So no, feeling happy when plans are canceled does not mean something is broken inside you. Wanting peace does not make you cold. Needing time alone does not make you antisocial. Sometimes closing the door is how you protect your energy. Sometimes it is how you hear your own thoughts. Sometimes it is how you come home to yourself. Just make sure that the door protecting your peace does not quietly become the wall surrounding your life, because the lock was never meant to keep the entire world away. No, it was meant to give you the power to decide when you were ready to let it back in.